2 episodes in and already we have controversy. When Morning Comes is a suspiciously similar story to an old EC Comics issue called Came the Dawn. And by suspiciously similar, I mean the exact same story. Nowhere in the episode is the original EC scribe Wallace Wood credited. In fact, no one is credited with writing this episode except for the producers of the show. The episode begins with the hitchhiker actually catching a ride with one of the characters for once. This makes for an awkward scene if you have the DVD set because Paige Fletcher has been inserted into the scene to replace the original hitchhiker, Nicholas Campbell, so they can only do cutaways and the eye lines really match up. Character actor August Schellenberg plays Bob Ames, a sleazy music producer who is on his way to a cabin in the woods. He talks the hitchhiker's ear off about all the broads he gets. His wife is understanding, though. I mean, he's got needs if you know what I'm saying. The duo drive right past a sign for the Raleigh State Mental Institution for Women. As they hit the rest stop, we overheard police dispatch saying a blonde woman in a light shirt has escaped the mental institution, and she's on the loose. Oh, and she was incarcerated for killing 5 men. The hitchhiker lets us know that Bob Ames thinks he has everything figured out, but the sky is charged and can fog the mind.
But the sky is charged tonight. And it can sometimes boil the blood and fog the mind.
Hey, you might want to chew on a little more scenery on your way out. Bob arrives at his cabin, but the lights are already on. He grabs his rifle and storms in, only to find Kathy, a beautiful naked woman drying off with a sheet. She claims she was out hiking and got caught in the storm.
Yes, I drove in from the city and I didn't expect to find Bo Derek wearing one of my sheets.
You think I look like her, huh?
Let me tell you, I've been as close to her as I am to you now.
Kathy is about to leave, but he asks her to stay and have dinner. As she gets dressed and he preps, we see one of his knives is missing. Kathy sneaks up on him for a playful scare and offers to do some role-playing. They flirt a little and the nipple makes its first appearance.
I'm pretending now. Maybe a spy.
But they catch you. And then undress you.
Like this?
A news report interrupts their music, though, and Bob learns about the dangerous escaped mental patient who matches Kathy's description. He panics and starts hiding all the sharp objects. She tries to playfully scare him again with one of his rifles, but he yanks it away from her and holds her hostage for real. In a nice little scene, Bob suddenly develops conspiracy brain and uses Kathy's kinky behavior from earlier against her. And when there's any kind of exculpatory evidence, he waves that away as just more proof of her guilt. Kathy sneaks a razor off the sink and makes a break for it, but she pulls a D. Reynolds and smashes her head right into the wall. She wakes up tied to Bob's bed and he heads out to get the police. Fortunately, she kept the razor blade and is able to cut through her restraints. Unfortunately for her, though, Bob got stuck in the mud and he's unable to leave. She grabs one of his rifles and runs off, leading to the most dangerous game. Hey, it's just like they talked about when they were flirting.
For me, the hunt is everything. Once I get on my side, I won.
Kathy gets the drop on him, but an officer shoots her at the last second. Sally, the cop, comes in to use the phone, and Bob starts flirting with her, using the same line he used on Kathy.
I didn't realize there was guards over at Raleigh that looked like Bo Derek.
Oh, but it turns out that Sally is actually the escaped mental patient, and she slits his throat to end the episode. Wallace Wood's original comic makes for a good campfire tale. In fact, it's just the old American folklore tale The Hook, dressed up with a sexy dame and peppered with more detail. Each change of medium, though, requires a little bit more detail, and that pulls you further and further away from what made the tale of The Hook so effective in the first place. A good tale of The Hook is about the cousin of a friend over in the next county who swears this happened to them. Once you have well-defined characters, it becomes more of a story and less of a tale, if that makes sense. I don't know, it made sense to me. When Morning Comes either adapts or rips off Wood's comic wholesale. The names aren't even changed from the original comic. Of course, since we're in the 80s now, and there was that 2-year span where we were all obsessed with crazy sleaze like this, Bob is a record producer. It adds literally nothing to the story other than the producers and director Yvonne Nagy putting in a self-insert character who the sexy woman just can't wait to take her clothes off for. Otherwise, I don't buy Kathy immediately getting naked and hopping into bed with Bob. I mean, their conversation takes place basically in real time, and Kathy starts getting undressed after 5 minutes. You know how rare a 5-minute conversion is? Bob's not making that. No shade to August Schellenberg. In fact, given how little investment they put into the screenplay, this whole thing plays like a grift to get a hot actress naked. And after they cast Patricia Bowman, I'm sure that there were high fives. I mean, what do you want me to say, that she doesn't look good naked? Beyond that, Bowman does a pretty good job of playing seductress and frightened woman whose lover suddenly decided to go full Voorhees on her. I like the small change of having Kathy fight back. In the original comic, she gets locked out of the cabin and Bob refuses to let her back in, leaving her to get killed by the real killer. Bowman wouldn't have much of a career in Hollywood beyond this, guesting on a few TV shows and playing bit parts in movies before hanging it up and becoming a chef. You can find her on Facebook, and she's a real delight. Horror fans will probably get a bigger kick out of this episode than the general thriller fan, even if we've seen adaptations of this story several times before. Hell, even Tales from the Crypt adapted the same story in the early 90s, giving HBO a twofer. Next up, we shift gears tonally as the series throws in a comedy episode. On the next Lonely Street of Dreams.
I'm a member of the $3 Million Club. I was Salesman of the Month, April and May.
Jake, that was 3 years ago.
I don't know. I can't help it if the bottom fell out of the market. Yeah, you remember you phoned me earlier, said you were interested in selling?
We like it. Daddy used to saw people in half.
See what?
Yes. Daddy was a great magician.
Jake, look, the house is half hers, and if she refuses to sell, there's really nothing to discuss.